in this world that exists like that, don't be a Stephen A. Smith. Be an Admiral Halsey.
When DL Hughley called out Stephen A. Smith, he didn't just clap back. He exposed the ugly truth about what happens when loud confidence replaces logic.
You recently accused Senator Mark Kelly, a veteran, an astronaut, of crossing the line for participating in a video reminding troops that they can refuse to follow illegal orders.
Okay.
Let's see some of what you said, my friend.
Sure.
You know better, Senator Kelly. You know better. How dare you do that? You could go to the House, you can put up drawer up paperwork, you can try to start articles of impeachment if you think there's something illegal. I mean, damn, it ain't like y'all haven't done it before. You impeached a man twice. Where'd that get you? Got his behind back in the White House. Had you left him alone since 2020, maybe he wouldn't be back. You don't tell military men and women to ignore an order from the commander-in-chief. You don't do that.
Caffeine's a bitch, you know?
Now let me just remind you that Pete Hegseth said in 2016, I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. Okay. Now, given the fact that the secretary himself said that, I'd love to give you the opportunity to perhaps change your position on what you said.
I'm not changing a thing.
Okay.
I didn't stutter when I said it.
You want to stay loud and wrong?
Well, you could call it loud and wrong all you want to. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine.
Okay.
Here's the reality of the situation. First of all, I don't give a damn what Pete Hegseth has to say because I will tell you right now, he was never qualified for the job.
And you are.
When you talk about DEI and eradicating that, excuse me, what was he doing hosting Fox News on the weekend and all of a sudden he's the defense secretary?
Right.
Please, give me a break. I don't care what he has to say.
That's
Let
right.
me get that out the way. As it pertains to Mark Kelly, what I was talking about is military. What I did was get on the phone with family and friends who have served in the military. And I said, we're not civilians. This is not the court of law. You can be implicated for implying something if you are a former military member or you are a present military member. It wasn't what Mark Kelly said. It's the fact that he was a combat Navy pilot who served in the military who would tell folks, ignore an order when it could get
Ignore
them
an
in
illegal
order.
He did not say
I said
ignore.
illegal.
That's what he
I said illegal. I'm talking about illegal. I understand that.
He said you don't have to follow an unlawful order, and that is in the military code of conduct.
And I'm saying to you, hold on, which I'm aware of.
But it didn't sound like you were aware of that.
He's aware of that. He's aware of that. Yeah.
No. I disagree with you.
Stephen, can I ask you a question?
I had two governors, by the way, text me to tell me I was wrong, and they agree with you.
You are wrong.
I had two senators that reached out to me and said you weren't wrong at all.
Well, Mikey Sherrill did say that the reason they felt the need to put that out is they were constantly being approached by people in the military saying we're being put in really uncomfortable situations.
But
that to me is a little more relatable when you're a veteran yourself.
But I'm saying let me say this real quick.
You gotta do real quick. Or wait till we come back.
All I'm saying is this. If you're a member of the military, I'm looking at the soldiers and saying, don't get yourself in trouble. Let somebody else do it. Don't you do it because it ain't gonna work.
Stephen A. went on The View to talk politics, but instead, he walked straight into the biggest self-inflicted PR disaster of his career. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're about to break down one of the most brutal takedowns in recent media history. It exposes everything wrong with Stephen A. Smith's desperate quest for political relevance because DL Hughley absolutely baptized him. This wasn't a mild critique or a polite disagreement. This was a complete destruction of Stephen A.'s political credibility in front of millions of people. Stephen A. appeared on The View to defend his controversial comments about Senator Mark Kelly.
Interesting because he believed, obviously, that being loud and wrong is leadership. But being loud and wrong is the sole province of old white dudes. They're the only ones who are going to get to be loud and wrong.
And then he delivered the knockout punch.
What the ironic thing is Stephen A. Smith is a broadcaster who thinks he can be president.
He had accused Kelly, a decorated Navy combat pilot and astronaut, of encouraging troops to defy the president. Despite being given multiple opportunities to walk it back, clarify, or show humility, Stephen A. doubled down. He got louder, more defensive, and proved exactly what DL Hughley said about him. He's loud and wrong, and he mistakes that for leadership. Let's start with what actually happened on The View, because this wasn't Stephen A. calmly defending a position. This was Stephen A. exposing his biggest insecurity in real time. Co-host Sunny Hostin gave him a perfect opportunity to pivot gracefully. She reminded him that Pete Hegseth, now the Secretary of Defense, said nearly the exact same thing as Mark Kelly back in 2016. Hegseth stated that the military will not follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief, the same principle Kelly expressed. Sunny asked a simple question. Given that the Secretary of Defense himself said this, would you like to change your position? Stephen A's response was immediate and defiant.
This is a tale of two black men. One who believes that being loud and wrong is leadership, Stephen A. Smith, and one is Admiral Alvin Hughley. Don't be a Stephen A. Smith. Be an Admiral Hughley.
I'm not changing a thing. I didn't stutter. Instead of reconsidering, he became defensive. He raised his voice. He talked about calling military friends and family. He justified why Mark Kelly should not have said something that is already embedded in military law. Then came one of the most revealing moments of all. Stephen A. said he didn't care what Pete Hegseth said because Hegseth was never qualified for the job, questioning how someone could go from hosting a Fox News weekend show to becoming Secretary of Defense. The irony was staggering. Stephen A. Smith, a sports commentator who hosts ESPN shows and podcasts, was questioning someone else's qualifications because they had been a TV host, while he himself is attempting to become a political commentator. The contradiction couldn't be clearer. That's where DL Hughley stepped in. And he didn't just criticize Stephen A.'s position. He dissected his entire approach to political commentary and exposed the flaw at the core of Stephen A.'s thinking. Hughley pointed out that Stephen A. is a broadcaster who thinks he could be president, yet he questions the resume of someone who actually became Secretary of Defense. The hypocrisy was undeniable. DL Hughley then delivered the knockout blow by contrasting Stephen A. Smith with Admiral Alvin Hughley, a four-star admiral with 37 years of military service, who resigned rather than follow an order he believed was unlawful. Hughley emphasized that this is what real leadership looks like, choosing integrity over power. That comparison wasn't just political, it was moral. Admiral Hughley walked away from his career rather than compromise his principles. Stephen A., on the other hand, chose volume over truth, loyalty over facts, and ambition over honesty. Stephen A.'s defensiveness revealed what was really happening. Politics is not his wheelhouse, and when people feel insecure about something, they become combative. If someone challenged Stephen A. on sports, he wouldn't react this way. He'd joke, debate calmly, or explain his point. But when Sunny Hostin challenged him on Mark Kelly, he immediately raised his voice and talked over people. That wasn't confidence, that was insecurity. Stephen A. knows most people with real military experience believe he's wrong. A quick search shows overwhelming criticism of his take, and the platforms that keep inviting him on political shows aren't doing it because they see him as a serious thinker. They do it because it's entertaining. Watching Stephen A. struggle through political commentary generates clicks and ratings. Stephen A. believes he's earning credibility, but in reality, he's being used as content. The truth is simple. Senator Mark Kelly said service members are not required to follow unlawful orders. That is not controversial. It is written into the Uniform Code of Military Justice and taught during basic training. Stephen A. twisted that into an accusation of encouraging insubordination, which is factually incorrect. When corrected by veterans and experts, Stephen A. refused to acknowledge the mistake. That's not journalism. That's ego protection. DL Hughley's most powerful point wasn't about politics. It was about character. He showed the difference between people who sacrifice for principles and people who sacrifice principles for attention. Stephen A. chose the latter. This matters because these are serious times. Politics isn't sports debate. Being wrong about football doesn't hurt anyone. Being wrong about military law and constitutional principles can. Spreading misinformation about lawful orders promotes blind obedience, not patriotism. Stephen A. Smith's fundamental problem isn't ideology. It's his inability to admit when he's wrong. If he had simply said, "I misunderstood," this story would have ended. Instead, he doubled down, attacked credentials, and exposed his own lack of humility. DL Hughley didn't just criticize Stephen A. He stripped away the illusion. He showed a man who believes being loud equals being right, who mistakes confidence for competence, and who is desperate for political validation. Stephen A. is great at sports, but politics isn't sports, and until he understands that, he will keep embarrassing himself. DL Hughley made that crystal clear. Don't be a Stephen A. Smith, be an Admiral Hughley. Thanks for watching.